Hi, this is Mary Cure again. I'm doing an interview right now with a representative from Hope for the Warriors, and this is for the Frontrunners Innovate magazine. This edition of the magazine is relative to mental health, mental well-being, and that sort of thing. And really it came to my mind that I can think of, maybe a handful of organizations out there that deal with veterans in this specific area. And I know you guys try to look at the whole picture, but I wanted to kind of bring Hope for the Warriors forward again because they've been in my past before, and I know what they're capable of doing, and I love the work that they're doing. And they do have a mindfulness challenge coming up. They've just finished a physical challenge. So I wanted to speak with Steve Bartomioli, who is the Sports and Recreation Senior Director for Hope for the Warriors. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about the challenge that they've already had, the one that they're having now, to kind of tie it all up to the whole person. And, how you can access that if you're a veteran, and, a little bit of information about what that might involve. So, Steve, thank you for being with us. And I think this is terrific. When I first read about it, I went immediately to who I thought were the right parties and say, tell me more about this and let me get this into this edition of the magazine, because it really flies well with it. So again, you were telling me a little bit beforehand about why you guys started this. If you'll go back to that little bit of history, and then we'll move forward from there.
Sure. Yeah. And first off, thank you so much for having me on and for being such a great supporter of the organization. We can't say how much we appreciate it. So, we're all in these lockdowns, in and out of, being quarantined and all this stuff. And at the start of all this, we really recognized an opportunity and a need for both those we serve on the programmatic side, those service members and their families, and those community supporters of ours to still engage and connect with others. Being a runner myself and, participating in sports, it's challenging when you're, in the house isolated and all those things. So we said, how can we approach this in a way that would be meaningful and get those people engaging again? So we kicked off a 30 by 30 challenge, we called it, and it focused on hit intervals and those types of things, but really just making sure that people were connected to each other. And that ran from April to Memorial Day weekend. It was a 30-day challenge, and we really had great success with that. So, we have now launched what'll be a series for this. So this one we're kicking off August 10th will be a mindfulness challenge. It's going to have great stuff for, different yoga practices, different breathing exercises, coping techniques, stress relief, journaling, and integration with family. So I think we have some really great things lined up for our participants, and we're really excited about it internally here. So we're live with registration, which is really exciting, and we should have so far I think we have around 200 to 250 participants already signed up. And with the first one we actually had a little over 850. So it was like in the 860 something range.
That's all over the United States, correct?
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, the great thing about doing these things virtually is, we could do them all over the US, but really anybody, anywhere can take part in this. And it's really exciting to watch people come from all parts of the country and having the potential to even do this across the globe.
Yeah. Do they have to register for this?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. There's registration. It's at no cost. So there's no obligatory donations or anything, but if people are in a good position and they feel the need to support the organization, that's always welcome. And we do gear. So t-shirts, if you want a t-shirt, you can then add that to your free registration. But we also recognize that not everybody's in the same financial situation right now. And we wanted to make this something that's totally inclusive, that anybody can participate in no matter what's going on with them right now.
Well, what I love is this is a series, and the first part of the series you did was more physical challenges. And that's something that a lot of the military used to anyway. So that worked out really well. Tell me a little bit about what happened during that series. And if you can pull out a little success story, that would be great too. Tell me a little bit.
I guess I have tons of stories I could tell. I would say I'll give you a couple.
Okay.
One, one of the things that came to light as we were putting these together was not everybody is going to understand what these exercises are by what we're calling them. So we better
Yeah.
be demonstrating them. So we had our staff out there in their driveways and garages demonstrating all
That's
these. And
priceless.
yeah, so my family participated. And, on one particular morning, my dad reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I loved the video this morning. Richie was so funny." And Richie is my 4-year-old son. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "In the demo of your video, he was hilarious." And I was like, "Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about." So I went back and I watched the video, and I was doing something face down, so I didn't realize he was behind me, like dancing and running around and all that. But which
Hey, quarantine crazies, that's what happened.
exactly right, like that's indicative of the times that we're living
Yeah.
through and all this. So I think that it makes it human for people. It shows us that it shows everybody that our staff just normal people like everybody trying to connect and stay engaged and all those things. So a little bit of levity, but then one of the things that I'm really proud of with the first 30 by 30 was there's one of our service members who we've worked with for years and years, and he kind of comes in and goes out and lots of different things, and he has been on a long fitness journey and had kind of been away from that for a while, and has since completed that challenge, started another challenge, and is re-engaging in those ways. And this is somebody we've known for a very long time. It's just great to see that something that we think of as so simple to put together can impact somebody in that way and get them started on a really good track. And just from knowing that person for as long as I have, knowing that it made that type of impact was it meant a lot to me, and I hope it meant a lot to that person as well.
It's interesting to see what triggers mental wellness and mental well-being, and if it starts with a physical situation where they get reconnected with something that feels very familiar to them, or something they just love, or that they're passionate about, or fun,
Yeah.
then that can get that re-engagement going on. I think that's neat. So do you feel like a lot of the ones that participated in the previous one will be jumping into the mental
Yeah,
wellness
we're
line?
hoping so. I know, it's I think part of what we're trying to do, well, I know part of what we're trying to do is make the mindfulness kind of like that term more accessible to people, right? Like I think that sometimes when people think of that, they think of like, oh, that's too woo woo for me, or like I'm
Yeah.
not into that stuff.
Meditation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, but the way that we're structuring this is on purpose. It's meant to be progressive, right? So in the first week, it's going to be 5-minute practices, and it's just kind of like dipping your toe into the water. And the second week, we'll progress to 10-minute practices, and the third week, 15, and so on and so forth. And the goal with that is to do a nice introduction that allows people to test it without feeling like they're making this huge commitment to something, and then progress that way. And hopefully what that does is help them build a sustainable practice over the course of time. And that doesn't mean they have to do it 7 days a week for the rest of their lives. But if they can take a little piece of something that they liked, that they did during the challenge, and maybe do that a couple times a week going forward, if that adds to them and brings value, like that's what we're excited about. So I think structuring that way was a strategic move on our part, and allows people to gain that.
Well, I think from the standpoint of, like you say, during this pandemic and everybody's been in lockdown and that sort of thing, do you see rising cases of PTSD or depression or anxiety or anything amongst the veterans?
I think it's definitely challenging,
Mm-hmm.
when people are already facing these things, and then to, be locked
Mm-hmm.
down into, one physical space. I think that that's definitely challenging. I would also say on the flip side of that, for people who don't
Who do
experience
well with
those things
other
or
people?
have to live with that stuff,
Yeah.
I think the general public is now seeing some of what those returning service members go through with all the isolation and all those things. And it's challenging for us to deal with, right? Like, think of all of the extra things that come along with it if you do have PTSD and issues
Mm-hmm.
that come along with it. So I think, it's nice because we've been able to have some of those conversations and say, you can put that in perspective for yourself. there's all these people who are going through this on a day-to-day basis, whether this is a pandemic or not, and really give people that understanding of what some of these people go through, and not a full understanding, but a small slice of, what they deal with on a day-to-day basis at times.
Sounds like mindfulness on both parts there
Yeah.
then, yeah. So if you had to put one big goal on this, that would make you all feel like it was a success, what would you say that would be? What would be
Yeah.
the
I mean, if we could, I would love to recreate that 850 participants.
yeah.
Again, this is free to the public, so anybody can come out and get registered at no cost. If you want a T-shirt, there is a cost to that, but that's just kind of a
We'll put
fun.
the link and all that in
Yeah,
the in this piece, but yeah. So end result, when all is said and done, and it puts a smile on your face, what would do it?
yeah. I mean, if I know this isn't exactly quantifiable, I guess, but if everybody who participates can take a little something away from it, that they have that sustainable practice going forward, and it makes their life a little bit easier, it makes them, think a little bit differently about something, then, I feel like I did my job. It's what's great about this is we have people from both the community and the client side of what we do participating. And what I always love to see is that engagement between those two groups, because I think sometimes that can get lost. But when you kind of leave those things at the door and just bring everybody into this one event and have everybody participating together, it happens organically, and it's great because people can see the different perspectives and talk to each other and have these conversations even through social media, and it's all been positive. So if we can keep that positive energy going with the second one, and really get people talking to each other, I think we'll all be smiling at the end of the day.
Well, I know who to push this around to in my network, so this is great. So I wish you all the success. I think mindfulness is really important, and that mental wellness and mental well-being, if you want to call it that, is really key to anybody's life, but particularly to those who've served the country and have been out in these odd, circumstances that we who haven't been there can't fathom what it would have been like. So I say thank everybody for their service, and let's give a little service back by helping you get your mindfulness on
Yeah,
track. So
for sure.
so thank you, Steve. I appreciate it very much. We look forward to checking in later to see how it all went. Okay.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for having me on, and for the support for the organization. We really can't thank you enough. I mean, this type of exposure is what really is game changing for us. So
We're
thank you.
going to ask everybody to push it around their networks too via
All
this
right.
video. Thanks.
Sounds good.